Today I'm going to have a look at this beautiful 226-year-old sampler, and I'm going to give it a little bit of TLC and see if I can rescue it. Hi everyone, Sarah from Homfray Embroidery. Welcome to my channel. Doing something a little bit different today because I've got this beautiful sampler to have a look at, and it's come as it is in this beautiful gold frame. I like the frame as well, and I could just hang it straight on the wall and it would look fabulous, but I can see without looking too closely that there's some quite bad things going on underneath this glass to this sampler, and it really needs to come out. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get it out and see if we can look at ways that we can preserve it for the future. So I just want to show you it under this camera up here. Apologies for any reflection, and this is why I'm going to get it out of the frame and show you it after it's come out the frame. But I just want to show you how I know that it needs to come out, basically. So there's loads of holes in it all over, but the edges are particularly bad here. It's pretty well disintegrated down the bottom. There's some holes here, but the thing I can see at the top, which is the bit that really worries me up here, is there's some nails in it. It's been nailed to a board, so these nails really need to come out. So that's the thing that's sort of defining that I definitely need to take this out of the frame, is the nails that are in it. So I'm also going to show you it on the back as well while I've got it in the frame. So you can see this paper on the back, and this has even come with some cobwebs on it, which tells me something about it. So it tells me it's been sitting somewhere for a while, or it's been on a wall for a while and it's not really been looked after. So this paper is actually loose. I'm going to peel that back, and you can see this board underneath. So I'm pretty sure it's fixed to this board. I can see some nails actually poking through the board, which is really bad. There's a couple of them. So the nails have gone all the way through the board. It's got these nails holding the board in as well, and on this side here I can actually see the edge of the sampler. I can see the fabric's been wrapped around the board. It's really bad. It really needs to come out of here. But what was interesting when I pulled this paper back, it's actually got some writing on it. So we're going to get it all apart, and I'm going to see if I can see what that writing says. So Jonathan is going to help me. We've got a few tools from the garage, and we're going to take this apart as carefully as we can. I don't want to do any more damage than there already is on this sampler. So we are just going to take it slowly and see if we can get this out. And I've got ready to put it on. I've made a little board. So this is a piece of foam board, and I've covered it in an acid-free tissue paper, completely acid-free, and I'm going to place my sampler onto that, and then I can show you, we can have a proper look around it, and then I can make some decisions about what I want to do with it. So the idea is carefully out of the frame. The sampler is going to go onto the acid-free, and then we'll get rid of all the other stuff. There's quite a few bits coming off it. There's bits of paper coming off it and cobwebs and everything. So I'm going to clear all the bad stuff out of the way, and then we can have a look and see what we've got. So I think if we just rip this off, I don't think there's any point saving that bit.
No.
Right, so if we can get these nails out first.
Pins, aren't they?
Yeah.
Just, right.
Now this is the fabrics down here, so oh, excited. Okay. Oh my goodness, everything's falling off it.
I'm not gonna. There's
nothing to grab.
There's nothing to grip there. It's just not enough.
Okay. Okay, so that took a bit of wrangling to get that off. Nasty nails that we just couldn't get out, so I just had to cut really carefully around the nail. I just don't know how else I'm going to get it off. It's such bad condition anyway that, you know, we haven't done anything horrendous to it. So I'm going to lift it off. Now there's quite a lot of nasty stuff coming out of this. And I used to, when I was on my Royal School Needlework apprenticeship, we did some time in the studio. We did some conservation, some restoration. And I never liked doing it then because I didn't like all the dirty stuff and the surprises that might be in there and all the creatures. So I'm going to deal with that. So I'm going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to lift it off onto this board that I have made. Now, it is really, really fragile, more fragile than I had anticipated. So I'm just going to lift it carefully over here. I'm going to see what's underneath. It's really interesting. It's got this paper backing, and I've pulled a few bits out but didn't think anything of it. But look, there's a little tree. That's come from there. And that's come from there. So whatever nasty stuff is in this paper backing has affected the embroidery on top, and we've got basically an imprint of the embroidery. That's really fascinating. I'm going to find a way to preserve that.
Shadow, isn't it? Shadow of the...
Yeah. So yeah, you can read it, in fact.
So it's like the paper was white and it's been discoloured by UV or whatever.
Yeah.
And the stitching has shielded the paper from UV or whatever.
Yeah.
You've got a shadow of the embroidery on the paper.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to find a way to keep that.
Excuse me, everyone. I'm going to have a look at this.
It's like detective work.
Ooh.
You can even see the darning bit on it.
That's remarkable.
That is remarkable. And what I'll be really excited about is to turn it over and see what the original colours are on the back. And you can even see, oh, look at the bit off the bottom. It's even got 1799 in it. Oh, I'm just going to put that back really carefully. This is not going to seem like we've planned this video very well, but we're discovering it with you, so we're quite excited about it. So I'm going to leave that on there. I'd envisaged just taking the paper off and chucking the paper away, because that's not going to be nice stuff, but that is amazing. Excited about that. It's got that little remnant of thread, so I'm going to keep all that exactly as it is. Don't know what I'm going to do with that, but I'm going to pass that to Jonathan. We'll work that out later, and you can see all the rubbish that's come off this. Just lots of general dirt, which is not a good thing. So I'm going to get rid of that too. Look at this big dirty mark. It's come off the frame. So we've got a bit of clearing up to do, but let's just get this under the camera and have an initial look at it.
More than that.
Oh,
Hold on.
part two.
Hold on.
God, we're just winging this now.
More than that. Is that under the camera?
Yeah.
Well, I was going
Oh no, is there something underneath?
Lift that up. Look at the wood.
Oh, it's gone through to the wood.
Gone through to the wood. Is that saying? So there we go. Look at that. So that suggests to me that it's been obviously on this paper and on this timber for a very, very long time. For it to for the daylight to affect
the wood underneath.
The wood underneath. That must have been there a long time, but also. You can see the fabric through it as well, the warp and the weft.
Oh, so you can. Wow.
You can see it better on the back of the paper than you can on the front of the paper.
Yeah, strangely. Maybe we should lift this off and see if there's any
Well,
any other surprises. Right, so not a little bit of the alphabet, but...
Yeah. That looks like a row of Space Invaders.
Yeah, that famous motif they put
18th
on.
18th century video game.
Right, well, there's some more exploration to be done in that. But it's worth just mentioning at that point about things being framed, because these samplers were not really made originally to be framed. So you get your long band sample and they'd be really long because they were to practice your stitches and to have a sample of the stitches because people didn't have books of them, and then they kind of became this sort of frame shape so they could go on the wall. So I don't know if that is original frame, but it's probably not far off. It's probably pretty old in itself. Those nails I think have been in there a long time, so just another interesting fact to find out. Okay, so that was quite exciting. I didn't expect excitement. I just thought I'm going to lift off and it's all going to fall apart. So that's really exciting to find that out. But now you can see it a little bit more clearly. And because I've got the white acid-free tissue behind it, you can see now where the holes are quite clearly. So obviously the ends are in a bit of a dire state, the bottom here, and the edges are in a bit of a dire state. And this linen is super fragile. So this would be an even weave linen that this would have been worked on. And I think this thread is silk. I'm going to have a closer peer at that in a second, but you can see clearly the date, Mary Townsend, August the 16th, 1799. And this date usually is the date that they finished the sampler. It may possibly be her birth date. It's generally when they finish the sampler. I could jump onto Ancestry and look her up and see if there was a Mary Townsend born on August the 16th, 1799. That might be another layer to this, but I just wanted to have a look at the materials of it really. So linen background, I think probably a silk thread. This looks silk here. It's got this piece of text in the middle. Next unto God, dear parents, I address myself to you in humble thankfulness for all your care and charge on me bestowed, the means of learning unto me allowed. Go on, I pray, and let me still pursue those golden arts the vulgar never knew. Quite like that. And then obviously the alphabet's at the top, capital letters, small letters. We've got numbers going on here. And there's something really interesting going on this sampler that isn't on a lot of other samplers of around this time, because so 1799, nearly in 1800s, were mainly cross stitch. So they became all about cross stitch, and the early ones have got some different techniques on it, and this one's got something really interesting in the corners, and we'll have a closer look. But this has got some darning samples in the corners here, which are a little bit more unusual to see, which is what drew me to this one, even though it's in this really bad state. So there's some darning samplers. We've got the cross stitch with the letters, and then we've got some satin stitch and some chain stitch. I think I'm going to have a peer and see what else I can see. So something else in these motifs here, and again at the top. So there's different techniques going on in this sampler, which is what drew me to it. Oh, there is another technique that I forgot to mention. So my Patreons and my YouTube channel members have been having a look at this sampler in the frame, admittedly, and I asked them, I said, what techniques do you think are in there? And there's one here that I haven't mentioned yet. You can look at this closely. And these are little kind of eyelets, a little piece of pulled thread work. So you pull your stitches tight and it opens the hole up and it makes some eyelets. So they would have been learning these techniques as part of their training to be young ladies at home. So the letters were done as what's called a marking sample. I've got another one here. And I've left this one in the plastic because this one is a bit filthy and a bit dirty and there's bits dropping off it and threads dropping off it. But they would have learned the letters so that they could mark their linens with it. And it's often thought, oh, they were learning the alphabet, and they probably were at the same time. But the idea of learning these letters was so that they could mark their linens with it. And when they went away to be washed and came back, you'd know whose it was. So they practiced the letters so that they could put their initials on their household linens. And then they would have learned the darning techniques so that they could mend their linens and their clothes. So these corner pieces here were to practice different darning techniques. And you needed different patterns because you might get a different weave of fabric. You might get a damask fabric or a twill fabric, which has a diagonal weave to it. So they would have learned that to mend their linens. I happen to have a little sleeve here, which would have gone under your dress. They just did the sleeve. They didn't do the whole shirt. So here you can see on this, let me go in this end. So here's some of the little holes in the fabric that you make by drawing the threads together here. And then this has got a little bit of darning on it. I hope you can see under the camera. A little bit of darning here where this little hole has been repaired with their darning stitches. So these were all practical things that they were learning in order to be able to run their households when they were a bit older. So let's have a little look at the lettering. So cross stitch technique, and this is actually over 2 threads of the linen here. So these larger letters are over 2 threads, and then if we go down and look at the other text on it, these cross stitches are over 1 strand of the linen. So these are half the size of the other text. So you would have practiced the larger letters first and got into a stride and practice those, and then you can go teeny tiny and you can do smaller, more detailed lettering, so you can see the progression through the lettering and how you can improve your skills from the large letters to the small ones. So these are the eyelets that I mentioned earlier, so you can see little holes here in the linen, and you stitch all the way around. You stitch down into the hole, you pull your stitches tightly, it pulls the threads apart and it makes the hole in the middle, and you can make your eyelets. And they've made a whole entire pattern out of these here. Really, really beautiful. And interesting to see those in there with the cross stitch, not something you see on lots of samplers. So this is another interesting technique on this sampler specifically, is this little motif here with the flowers and the stems. And you can see different stitches going on in here. So we've got some satin stitch here. I think this is stem stitch. I might have to get a magnifying glass out. It's really fine. I'll put my finger next to it. See how small the stitching is? There's some chain stitch, I think, and this would have been a little bow holding this little spray of flowers together. So quite a few different stitches going on in there. And then it's these little darning samplers that really interest me, and you can see the different colours in there, and you weave your threads through the fibres that are already in the background linen, in the ground linen, so you go between them, and the patterns that you make with your stitches will determine what the darning looks like. So you can try lots of different patterns, and they've got different colours going on. So you can see shorter stitches here, they've gone across what would be the hole and done longer stitches and woven them together. And I think that's why some of my patrons and my channel members thought they could see hardanger on this. A few people mentioned hardanger when I said what techniques do you think are in it, and I think this is what they were looking at, because it does look similar to the stitches used in hardanger, but it isn't hardanger, it is darning stitch. So this is really a beautiful technique going on here. I'm going to show you the other corners as well. The bottom right one, which is very similar in style to that left one. Let's have a look at the top. This one is in really good condition, but the linen is going really dark on this side, so this isn't really good. I think something's got to this on this side. You can see how dark this linen is, but really beautiful example of the darning technique here. And again, the same pattern on this side. So she's obviously practicing this pattern in particular to try this really lovely darning technique. And then we'll just have a little look at this motif that's going on in the top. So we've got two more elements here, little flowers and stems here. And then there's a cross stitch going on in the middle here for this main element. And then there's also some of the darning technique in here. So we've got all three things that are going on in this sampler in this section at the top here. And interesting to see how they put them together, how Mary's put them together, in fact, to create these beautiful designs. So let's look at the condition of it. Quite bad. I think we can all agree on that. So there's three things that can affect the condition. So the materials that thing is made from in the first place, they can disintegrate. The conditions that it's kept in, obviously we've talked a little bit about light on it and how that imprint's ended up on the board, so that can deteriorate the threads, and the colour as well. And I'm going to flip it over in a second because I really want to see what colour it is on the back. And the third thing is how it's been looked after, so whether it's been worn, whether it's been used, whether it's been left on the wall in a damp place or in the sunshine, or whether it's been kept away in good conditions, and it will last a bit longer. So a lot is going on in there, and I think this one's had all three of those things going on with it. Obviously been nailed to the board, so that's not good for it. It's been in the sunlight, and the sunlight, I'm guessing, has faded it. I don't think it's going to be these colours when I flip it over, and it's worn through the linens. Probably the acid in that paper underneath has worn through and made the holes in it. So let's flip it over and see what it's like on the back. Wow, that's quite different on the back. Look how bright the colours are on the back. We've got red in here, actually got red, yellow, blue. Got some pinks down here. It's so much more vibrant on the back. Let me just see if I can do a half and a half so you can see. Look how much brighter the lettering is. This is sort of like a browny red colour. You can see the plants are much more vibrant. Look how dark this blue is. The lettering, it's got pink here. So much more vibrant on the back. It's absolutely fabulous to see those colours. They have not been in the light of day for a long time. I think what I might do is get some thread colours and match them and see if I can get the palette of what this stitch sampler would be. Maybe we can do something with that in the future. So by the magic of technology, Jonathan has just suggested if we get a good image of this and reverse it, we can see roughly what it looked like when it was original. So if it works, you can see that now. Ta-da! And it's like bringing it back to life. Absolutely incredible to see these colours as they were originally and then how they are now. So wonderful to have a look at the back. Worth getting it out of the frame just to see that. So one of the things I've just mentioned that can make it deteriorate is the materials it's made out of. And I just want to mention the threads here because this is interesting. You can see how dark the writing is on the back. So this would be black. Now black was always a problem to make. If you look at old black work pieces, you can see this especially in those. So they would have got a colour dye and they would have put an iron mordant in it, and the iron mordant is what made it black. And then obviously you've got iron in your thread in your embroidery, really bad. It's doing what the nails were doing on the edges basically, and it's going to deteriorate. So this is quite dark on the back. It's a lot lighter on the front, so I'm pretty sure that's had some iron in it, so that isn't going to do it any good. But quite interesting to see how dark some of these colours are and why they have faded on the front. Okay, so let's talk briefly about what I can do with this. Now, I'm at home in my studio. I'm not in a conservation lab. I do not have access to the things that they would have. But I'm just going to talk through a few things they might do with it. So you might consider wet cleaning it. Now, obviously, there's a lot of care needs to be taken if you're going to do that. This is way too fragile to wet clean. When you wet something, it's at its most fragile state. That's when it can, the weight of the water can start pulling threads apart. Obviously, you could have your threads run. You would need to check every colour thread on the sampler and do a wet test with it to make sure the colour's not going to run. If it's going to run, you cannot do a wet test on it. I am not going to do that. It's way too fragile to get wet. So I'm not going to do a wet test. Conservation labs will have other means of doing that kind of cleaning as well. They have a lot of gels that they're looking at now, a lot of modern substances that you can use instead to help clean something. I don't have access to any of those, so I'm not going to do any kind of cleaning from that point of view. You can also do a dry clean on it, which basically involves a very, very low powered vacuum cleaner. This is a special one that textile conservators use, and it's just a tiny little nozzle, and you would put a piece of net underneath it so you're not sucking anything up you shouldn't be, and you just very gently vacuum clean the whole piece. It is very gentle suction on it. You're not going to suck the whole thing up in the vacuum cleaner, and that will pull up a lot of surface dust. Now I think this has been under a glass for a long time, so it wouldn't have picked up the usual dust that you might have if you just put it on the wall and it wasn't under glass. It could probably do with a little bit of that, but it is so fragile and I don't really have anything quite suitable for that. So I might just try and make sure I can get any loose dust off it and loose muck and dirt out of it. It's coming off on the tissue paper, so I'll just keep gently trying to just knock that out and make sure I've got all the loose dirt off it that I can. So obviously the main problem with it is the holes. Lots of holes, and this edge is really terrible, so I'm going to conserve it. I'm not going to put anything new back. I'm not going to reweave any threads back in here, which is what you could do if you were restoring it. I am going to keep it as it is, and I'm going to remount it, so it's not going back on the board, because that's great as it is. Might just frame the board back in the frame and put that on the wall. So I'm going to conserve it, so it's keeping as much of the original as possible, just stabilizing it, getting on a nice background that's not going to deteriorate the fabric any further, and then I may consider getting it back probably in a different frame now that I've seen the board, or maybe the same one. We'll see if it fits. Some of this edging was bending around the board, so the frame's not really quite big enough for it now. So my plan is to make a bigger board, and I'm going to cover it in fabric, and I'm going to stitch this to the fabric, and I'm going to do it super carefully. I've got a very fine, hopefully you won't be able to see it on the camera, which is the idea, and I've got a very fine polyester thread to make sure it's really secure. If I do it with silk, then the silk's going to deteriorate in future. And then I'm just going to stabilize these holes as much as possible, just stitch around the edges of them and just, I think, literally put it as it is. I can straighten up any fibers that need straightening up, and I can just do that really carefully and just get it as it is back onto another solid surface that's going to help protect it. If you saw my altar frontal conservation video that I did a couple of weeks ago, you can check that out on the channel if you haven't seen that yet. I actually netted it, so it was a piece of gold work and all the gold was disintegrating and falling off, and I actually put this conservation net on it. You can see that. Very fine net specifically for this purpose. So I could consider netting it. I could just put a piece of net over the whole thing and then you just stitch very carefully around the areas that are really, really fragile. And you can see that net does disappear. You can see it a little bit, but it's pretty good at disappearing. That colour especially. I dyed it to go with the gold, but it's a good colour for this. So I could consider netting the whole thing. I might try a little bit of repair and see how easy it is. If it's proving a little bit difficult, that is always an option for me, to put a piece of net over the whole thing and just sew around the holes and around the edges just to stabilize everything in position. So you can get things professionally conserved. You can go to a conservator and they've got all of the gadgets and all of the specialist equipment to do this properly. It will cost you a lot of money. It will, you know, very skilled and lots of knowledge is going into it. So I kind of want to show you what you could maybe do at home. If you've got something like this, maybe you've had it passed down through the family to you and you are the keeper of it. And you think, oh, it's really bad. I can see nails and lots of bad stuff going on. I want to do that. So maybe I thought I could show you how you could do it at home. So we're not going to do any of the fancy cleaning, but I will show you how to stabilize it with that method of sewing it to a board. I'm not going to do that in this video because I need to prep a load of stuff and it's a whole video in itself. So I just wanted to share the getting it out of the frame with you because I thought there's only one opportunity to do that and see what we can discover, because you might discover the same things or some different things or some more exciting things. I don't know. So I wanted to show you that process, which is what this video is about, but I will show you what I'm going to do with it in another video. So I do hope that you'll stick with me and you'll be interested to see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to document this. I've taken a few photographs of it while it was on the board. I'm going to do it now it's off the board. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to get a good photograph of the back. So as much documentation as I can. So if somebody else receives this after I've long gone, they can see what work I have done to it. They can see what condition it was in, and they've got a little story of how it is. So I'm going to do that now. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more investigation into needlework, then do check out this video up here. This was another old piece that I bought, gold work and chenille embroidery, absolutely beautiful. Go and check that one out if you want to see all about that. If you've enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.